welcome. Wake Up Options is back.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Episode 10, Season 2, whatever we want to call it. We're back. Long hiatus. Because, coronavirus and the state of the world. If you're listening to this in the future, come back and tell us how to beat this.
Please. But anyway, this episode of Wake Up Options, just like all the ones previously, but now with a new season worth of episodes now that the fall semester has restarted. The opinions on here are, shocker, not representative of the organization or university as a whole, but we are very glad to be back to you in these interesting times where a lot has changed.
Yeah, so the state of the world is, at least fighting game-wise, all online.
All online. Much like we were talking about previously, a lot of stuff just started to go majorly online. A lot of online tournaments have thrived. Yep. A lot of games have changed.
Evo got canceled
For good reason.
Yeah,
Man, Mr. Windsor's a scumbag.
It got canceled for cancel culture reasons. And
cancel culture? No, you mean righteous reasons. Righteous reasons.
It was obviously. Let's be fair.
Man, I'll clown on everybody. It's fine.
It got canceled because of its strong family values.
But anyway, if you guys don't know, my name is Matt.
And I'm Aaron.
And it has been too long. It really has been.
It has.
Anyway, there's so much has changed, but let's talk a little bit about what's changed. Over the summer, a lot of new fighting games. Since Evo didn't happen, there had to be a lot of different ways to announce stuff. KOF 15 still lost in the deserts.
Yeah. Street Fighter 5 has a Season 5. Mortal Kombat 11 has the Aftermath.
A rival schools character. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Shows that Capcom actually cares about their brands.
Yeah. It only took 6 months, but Dragon Ball finally announced character number 3, Master Roshi. The Turtle Hermit himself.
Definitely been wanted since the first season of the game. I'm really supportive of that kind of choice.
Oh, absolutely. I think the obvious next step after Roshi is to go with Mr. Satan.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any other character that would be more deserving than our boy Hercule. There's no other character that makes sense.
Aaron's mind is clouded.
Every other Dragon Ball character doesn't matter.
No,
we need a team entirely made of regular human people. Let's get Citizen number 3, or perhaps the World Tournament announcer.
See, I'd be fine with that one. That's fine. Just running through super quickly some of the other updates to fighting games. Guilty Gear Strive delayed a little bit more, but announced new character Nagoriyuki, who was apparently a vampire as well, but that original character that we saw in the first trailer of the game, and returning Leo Whitefang, which is a character that I did not expect to see because of his connections with Exard only. Like, he's not a long mainstay character like some of the other ones that are coming back, like Milia and Zato.
Sure. But he was relatively popular in the Exard series.
He was a very popular fan favorite. Not so much to old-time Guilty Gear fans, but definitely to newcomers. He was a very easy-to-pick-up character, very notorious for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Despite even being a charge character, like an easy-to-pick-up charge character, kind of rare.
Yeah.
Will probably thrive in Strive.
Yeah.
And yes, I meant to make that rhyme. That's okay.
And then, of course, Mortal Kombat 11 got its Aftermath update. We talked about that briefly in the future, in the past of this podcast.
It's been a bit.
Has been a little bit. I don't know if we ever fully gave our opinions on all the characters post-release.
We don't need to.
We don't need to.
It's old news by this point.
It's old news by this point, but if you care, I like Fujin. I know people who really like RoboCop, and I've heard Shiva is pretty good.
Fair enough. I have not played the Aftermath update, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. Very surprising coming to me. But they've only had, skin packs up to now, so irrelevant.
Yeah, a couple skin packs. Potential, maybe, to get some major announcements come September with DC Fandom 2.
True.
2 Fan, 2 Dome.
2 Fan, 2 Dome, 2 Dome.
Yeah, exactly. DC Fandom 1 was good, but no fighting game announcements, so we're not going to talk about it.
Nope, nothing too huge. No. I think the Street Fighter 5 one was one of the bigger ones, along with Guilty Gear. Yeah, those are the two games that have been really cooking. Yeah. Really marinating a little bit. Except King Fighters 15.
There's been some Soul Calibur stuff.
Yeah, no, Setsuka for Soul Calibur 6.
Warden from
Samurai Showdown. Or no, he's in Samurai Showdown.
Yeah,
he is from For Honor.
Yeah, For Honor's the Warden is now in Samurai Showdown.
Generic-looking character, but I heard he's very fun.
Yeah, and then of course Halmaru from Samurai Showdown is now in Soul Calibur 6.
Yes, along with series classic Setsuka from Soul Calibur 3, who is the most recent DLC. One-handed katana flash quick draw type.
Okay. Anime.
Also with an umbrella.
I see.
Umbrella
anime.
sword. I think that's just a good aesthetic.
Honestly, yeah. That's something you'd expect out of the Penguin. Not to get too comic oriented.
He's way too comic oriented.
Is there anything new out of Tekken?
Tekken, they announced their season 4, and they probably have another wacky guest character coming in, i.e., like Negan and Noctis and all that.
Okay, another
That's what
wacky
really
guest
sells
character.
it. They
guess...
finally patched Fakumon.
Oh, is he just too good?
Oh yeah, he was like the Leroy situation where he came out, and he was like completely busted for a long time because he had weird hitboxes. And now he can't sidestep stuff just because he has weird hitboxes anymore. But that's a deeper conversation for more classic Tekken heads.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy Muay Thai fighters in fighting games. I think they're like the most one of the more well-known archetypes out there. You know, you've got your Bruce Lee clones, you've got your ninjas, you've got your Shotos, you've got your grapplers, and then of course you have your Muay Thai fighters.
Only Shotos existed in real life. I want to see somebody on the streets like throwing a Hadouken or something.
Yeah, seriously. Can we get like real life Street Fighter? Can somebody out there like come to our studio that isn't a studio and that's just your living room?
Seriously.
And just teach me how to throw a fireball out of my hands?
Seriously.
If somebody can do that, I would legitimately I would give them like the $20 I have in my wallet.
There you go. There you go.
A case of beer.
Fair enough. But beyond that, there hasn't been a ton of more fighting game updates, and things have been kind of slow. And I think that's for the better. Let everything recover, let it stay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies are just trying to figure out how to make their online bearable. Unfortunately, Bandai Namco has still not figured it out.
No. Rollback Netcode, definitely talking about. Actually, a huge thing to talk about. The Japanese developer fighting game Roundtable.
Yeah, the Roundtable. Rollback came up.
For 2 seconds.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it. It came up. They're like, oh yeah, this is a thing that exists.
It's too expensive to integrate into our games.
Yeah, sure. You tell that to the people that have been porting SNK games.
Seriously, Team Mystic, our Code Mystic.
Yeah.
Beautiful guys. I love them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Basically, the big takeaways from that fighting game roundtable is they want to. The best thing is that they want to start doing crossplay more and more.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way of the future, and I like that.
Especially with next gen coming, and with how similar, apparently, the Series X and the PS5 are going to be.
Right.
I'm very excited. That said, no fighting game announcements for next gen, so we don't care.
Yep.
I mean, there's an assumption that Street Fighter 6 is happening.
Not for a while.
Not for a while, though.
Especially with this Season 5.
Yeah, especially with Season 5. I've heard that Season 5 is just a stopgap, so that Capcom has something coming out to make money off of from the fighting game division. And with the departure of Ono recently,
right?
That's a big deal.
Yeah, he's been involved since Street Fighter 4 days at least.
Yeah, at least from a
like a community
public
or marketer producer.
Yeah, exactly. The same sort of role that the guys who were in the combat cast for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, like Tyler Lansdowne.
Yeah, Tyler Lansdowne, Stephanie Brownback.
Right.
Yeah, those guys.
I like how Capcom's communication has gotten better and better. I think Ono.
We finally met the developers.
Yeah,
the producer and the director of the game.
Finally,
it's not
their names escape me at this current moment.
They do. Yeah, they do. We could edit them in later, but we're not good enough at audio editing.
Not
hearing our voices. That's about the much.
You can read the description. I'll put it in.
Yeah, maybe. They seem like super personable, and then
I just think
that whole Street Fighter 5 announcement thing was great. They had some pro wrestler guy.
Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega.
I've heard he's a good dude, but...
He's very good. At CEO, him and a couple other guys cosplayed as Akuma, Ryu, and Ken and did a wrestling match.
Okay, that's fantastic.
It was really cool. It was really fun. A lot of fighting game guys have a real appreciation for wrestling.
I have an appreciation for the storytelling, the way they do things, but personally it doesn't appeal to me.
Overtop characters sounds like a fighting game to me.
Yeah, overtop characters, naming your moves.
Sounds like a
goofy
fighting
outfits.
Game to me.
Storytelling through combat.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a wrestling guy. I can appreciate what they do, but doesn't necessarily appeal to me.
I appreciate
that said, the King of Fighters mobile app has The Rock.
Yeah, the King of Fighters All-Star crossover with
Honestly,
WWE.
Oddly enough, it's not a horrible game. There's some like skins and designs in that. It's like, man, if only SNK would actually put skins in their games.
I feel that when I see Tekken, the card game. That one is really good as well.
Yeah, like there's some actually like interesting character designs in there, right? So like you've got I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head, like Vampire Hydern.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are like very, very centric toward like the waifu fan base, right?
Yeah, ever since SNK Heroines, I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be that's an aesthetic for people.
Oh,
yeah, questionable aesthetic.
Questionable aesthetic, exactly. But then you have like Power Rangers Ralph and Clark, which is potentially like one of my new favorite things. Because again,
Power Rangers Battle to the Grid.
Battle of the Grid. It's been updated a few times. It's like a legitimate
Samurai Ranger coming up.
Yeah, apparently it's like a legitimate contender in the fighting game space now.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
finally coming into its own.
Yeah, it took a while, but like the consistent netcode and the dedicated player base definitely helped.
Yeah.
And as do with a lot of smaller fighting games.
Oh yeah,
Skullgirls.
I mean, if we're going to talk about dedicated player base, Skullgirls, and then there's been a resurgence lately of classic fighting games being played online, whether it be with online emulators or
Parsec. Yeah, Parsec or Ultimate Marvel 3 has been really popular as of late.
Ultimate Marvel 3 has been resurging. Obviously, we've got these anniversary collections, and then you've got Code Mystic in there with dominating with their SNK stuff. It like classic fighting games are finally making a comeback.
Yeah, Samurai Showdown 30th collection that's going to have all Samurai Showdowns, including a special, never released version of Samurai Showdown 5. Is going to be really good. Yeah. If only the current Samurai Showdown could get the Code Mystic touch with rollback.
yeah, it would be nice, especially with how much that you can tell SNK wants that game to succeed.
Right. It's
a beautifully simple game. And obviously, like, people have gushed about it before. Like, Samurai Showdown was one of the best games that came out. Was it last year? Was it 2 years ago?
It was last year, I believe, 2019.
Yeah, it was one of the better games to come out of 2019. I think had Smash not wrongfully been given fighting game of the year, because it's not a fighting game, I will fight everyone in the comments over that.
We can have that discussion another day.
Again, this is my opinion. It's not
not related to the organization, blah 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 blah.
It's my personal opinion. Like if Smash wasn't wrongfully given fighting game of the year, it would have come down to Mortal Kombat 11, which I have gone on record saying is probably my favorite fighting game ever, and Samurai Showdown. And I feel like Samurai Showdown could have pulled it out on that. I think it, from a technical aspect, does what it wants to do better than Mortal Kombat does.
Yeah.
Although I will say I think Mortal Kombat delivers a more satisfying experience for gamers of all types, not just fighting games.
Fair enough. I mean, I have my own personal preferences and things of that nature. But it's nice to see classic fighting games and Samurai Showdown be given some love, especially. And with, the new DLC, they still have one more for their current season at the very least. They might have two. I cannot remember off the top of my head. Skullgirls getting the new character Annie of the Stars in both the mobile game and second Encore is pretty nice.
How long has it been since Skullgirls added a new character?
Oh man, a lot of years. Not since
obviously the second Encore release.
Fukua, Robo Fortune, Big Band, and those characters were all DLC. Beowulf, not since those. So at least since 2014, 15.
So
I
think
it's a long period of time.
It's great to be seeing a game like that get some kind of support after all this time. It would be like if you saw
it'll probably
a new character added to the Switch version of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Right? That would be like if they introduced a secret unlockable variant of Guile. Ultra American Guile.
Ultra American Guile. He has a American tattoo on his face and hair.
Yeah, exactly.
He's beautiful.
He's just red, white, and blue all the way down. His sonic boom is replaced with the caw of an eagle.
Or a firework.
Yeah, I think a caw of an eagle. Maybe
no. We gotta stop. The Street Fighter dev team is gonna listen to us.
Right, seriously. It'd be nice if they did, right? I've been attempting to plug this podcast. But, we'll see what happens. Now, I'm excited about the future of Street Fighter. If we want to get into Street Fighter 5 right now, we've got a character coming out. Is it this fall or this December?
This winter. At some point. It'll be Mr. Dan Hibiki.
I am on board with Dan Hibiki. I have sorely missed his presence in Street Fighter. He's probably the character that if they were going to do a season 5, which they are, he was gonna make it.
Yeah, I mean he is a fan favorite. Yeah. And I think more fan favorites in that game just help it out a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I think that he's the one character from the Alpha series that desperately needed to make it in the game, and especially with Sakura and Blanca already being in the game.
Yeah, it makes things easier. Rose and Oro, to be expected.
Yeah.
Those were ones that were...
Yeah, Rose was heavily requested from what I'm aware of. I don't know a lot about Rose. I know a little bit more about Oro. I know Oro is a Street Fighter 3 era character.
Third Strike, baby.
Did he debut in Third Strike? Or?
I don't know if he debuted in Third Strike, but he is a Street Fighter 3 character, and he's apparently getting redesigned in a lot of ways to I hope he gets Yeah, first of all, 2 arms.
First of all, Oro has 2 arms now.
He's balancing a turtle in 1 arm, though.
Dude, I'm on board with that turtle. That turtle is a
Ah,
mood.
ooh. His turtle combined with like Sagat's tiger and stuff like that. Good.
Can we get,
good
like,
pet characters?
can we get-
Street Fighter?
Can we get Street Fighter Pet Edition where it's just like,
Is that a new version of Pocket Fighter?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like a mobile game where you play as Sagat's tiger, Oro's turtle, and then like
Tiger uppercut.
exactly with literal
Easy.
tiger uppercut.
Easy. That's
No,
easy
you
money.
play as Oro's turtle. You play as somebody had a bird, right?
Right.
Somebody has
Zeku's got a bird and
Yeah,
otter.
yeah, Zeku's got a bird. There you go. You get Zeku's bird. You get Cody's secretary, and then Sagat's tiger.
Oh no. But yeah, the 4th character that they announced is definitely the most interesting, which is
Yeah.
Akira Kazama
From Rival Schools.
Rival Schools.
So Rival Schools is one of those lesser known Capcom fighting games.
Yeah, it was basically a kind of it's not a tie-in to the EX series, which was like their first kind of foray into almost doing 3D stuff.
but
it
it's
was-
similar
yeah.
gameplay style.
It's very similar to Virtual Fighter in a lot of ways.
Okay. Can
But
we
like
do a
with the same
Virtua
kind of-
Fighter revival, please?
Yeah,
Like
seriously, Virtual Fighter 5 should happen.
we need
But-
more 3D fighting games because I don't want to be stuck playing Tekken and Soul Calibur if I want to play a decent
Fair
fighting
enough. Yeah, there was a big saturation of 3D fighting games back in the day, and I
game.
feel
when
like that's
Mortal Kombat
kind of
was 3D.
yeah, you're kind of stuck between the two right now. But yeah, Rival Schools was like had that Street Fighter flashiness with the 3D kind of an
Okay.
aspect.
It's been a while since one of those games came out, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, Rival Schools hasn't been around since the arcade days at the very least. But it had like Sakura as a guest character. She knows all the people in there.
Didn't Karen debut in that?
Yeah, Karen Kanzuki. Yeah, kind of. I think she either debuted in it or also guest starred like Sakura did.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly Capcom being like, yes, we hear the fans, we understand what they want, we're gonna give you
Right,
a character you want.
right. Too bad she's not going to come out until like next winter.
Yeah, seriously, it's gonna take over a year for all this stuff to be completed, and that's how
Yeah.
that's how I can tell
That's quarantine,
that.
baby.
I mean, yeah, it's out of quarantine. That's how I can tell that this was not planned.
No,
I
not
think
at
they
all.
intended to end with Seth and then go into Street Fighter 6,
Mhm.
and then something happened. And of
yeah.
course, I'm not just regurgitating what I've seen online, what I've seen on YouTube. I legitimately think that Street Fighter 6 was going to be announced within the next 2 years,
Mhm.
and then something happened. So Capcom's like, well, we're not making another Marvel versus Capcom. As much money as
If
that would make.
only, if
Yeah,
only.
seriously, can we get another Marvel versus Capcom?
I
though?
think
Like,
Marvel
there's-
just makes it hard.
Marvel definitely makes it hard, but also like we got Doctor Doom in Fortnite. Like we can get Doctor Doom in Marvel versus
man.
Capcom.
I want it. I wish Marvel 4 would happen.
Yeah.
And I hope it does within the next
Or
couple
does that
of years.
wait? Is Marvel Infinite technically Marvel 4?
Mm,
Would the next game have to be called Marvel vs. Capcom 5?
maybe.
I don't know. Can we get Marvel 5?
I don't know. Infinite's like so much of a dark horse that
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can we get a reboot of Marvel superheroes?
Not
The
bad.
Marvel
Hey man,
superheroes
if
fighting
there are remastered versions of Marvel's 1 and 2, and even maybe like Children of the Atom or
Yeah, Children of the
X-Men v
Atom.
Street Fighter, like updated ports to put on modern consoles would be great. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think Capcom's going to do it.
It would make them too much money.
Yeah, it would make them too much money.
Yeah.
But a Marvel collection would be amazing.
Yeah. If we could get like and especially because this year is a big anniversary for Marvel too. I thought they were gonna announce
20 years.
a digital re-release of Marvel 2.
20th anniversary Marvel 2 would have been very fun.
I bet you Disney's making it hard.
Yeah,
I bet
yeah, most likely.
It's
There's so
probably
many
nice.
licenses of Marvel products now due to the movies.
Yeah. I mean, that said, like if we wanted to like Dreamcast ourselves. Yeah. I said that on purpose.
That's getting a little too deep
if
into
we,
it.
I mean, if we wanted a Dreamcast, like a dream team of like Marvel 4 characters. I mean, first of all, you got to go Black Panther, and I'm not just saying this because we're recording this soon after the unfortunate death of Chadwick Boseman. Rest in
Rippin' Wakanda.
peace, Wakanda forever. You know, like my heart goes out to the family.
Of course.
But like Black Panther is one of those characters at this point that is so universally beloved. Essentially at this point, he's reaching A tier status when a decade ago, if you mentioned Black Panther, people were insinuating it's like a political affiliation or something.
Right. I mean,
unless of course you're talking to people that understand comics.
yeah, like he's a great character, and I think his playstyle in Infinite was great too.
Oh yeah.
So like, if I was just talking from a complete gameplay perspective,
From a
game
gameplay
that he's been
perspective,
before,
you You put out a new Marvel game. You don't even have to tie it to Capcom, right? It doesn't have to be a Marvel versus Capcom game. It doesn't have to be a. It's
just a Marvel fighting game in general.
Yeah, Marvel fighting game, and then you make him play like Saberwolf in Street Fighter, or
X-Men v Street Fighter.
No, you make Saberwolf from Killer Instinct. You make him play like Saberwolf from Killer Instinct.
Oh yeah, your comics on the brain.
I have got comics on the brain.
No, like I'm with you there. Yeah, I understand.
You make him play like Saberwolf.
Right.
I think that's the perfect way to have him play. Maybe splice in a little bit of what you see in like a Liu Kang type of character. Splice in a little bit of that, and you've got a very interesting character.
Fair enough.
I think.
Fair enough.
I mean, you got to go with the mainstays of Marvel, right? So you've got to have Wolverine. You got to have
Spider-Man,
Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk. Like, those are a given. But like, if we're gonna throw in some like weird characters, right? Why not lead with somebody like Juggernaut?
I mean, yeah, it's cool to speculate about Marvel 4 if it would ever happen.
Yeah, I mean,
if it would happen.
Yeah,
if
Dream roster.
If
obviously,
nudge,
Dream roster. Nudge. You give us Venom. You give us the Black Knight, because the Black Knight's the best character in Marvel.
All right. Aaron's getting into his bias.
All right, we're gonna move.
But that's okay. But anyway, I saw something super interesting, Aaron.
What did you see?
Oh man, there's this great Twitter account called Scrub Quotes.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
They released this thing that was super interesting because there was, and if people here who are listening to us right now, you kind of know what I'm talking about. There was one that was talking about Fantasy Strike a little bit. And if you don't know what Fantasy Strike is, it is a free to play fighting game with a lot of motion inputs, i.e., like Smash, like one button specials. Somewhat like Power Rangers, somewhat like Grand Blue in some cases, though Grand Blue is very optional with that.
Yeah, Grand Blue does
Fantasy Strike is a very different and more simplistic fighting game in a lot of ways. And they were talking about, like, this is the way that fighting games need to be. No complex motion inputs.
You mean you don't like pretzel motions?
Yeah, I love me a good pretzel. Soft pretzel with some salt on it. Hell yeah.
My brother started picking up old KOFs once he built his PC.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me what a motion was on Geese. I'm like, bro, that's a pretzel motion. He's like, oh man, I want to do that.
Yep, there you go.
It's like,
but anyway, it's interesting to talk about it because motion inputs are, I don't want to say something as blunt as they're not hard, but they, in all honesty, they take time. They take a little bit of time to accustom yourself to, which I understand why that's a barrier to some people, but at the same time, it's like you got to invest in the game you're playing.
I mean, I can tell you right now, it's not that they're not hard. Right, because some motions are kind of difficult, like getting a double quarter circle or a half circle into a quarter circle. But at the same time, there's half circles and quarter circles in 2K, in NBA 2K20.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
I only knew this because it was free on PlayStation Plus in July. So I played it enough to get my money's worth out of a free game. So I played it.
Yeah, and
a couple times. There are half circles in that game. So if people who play and I'm not talking down on people who play 2K because clearly they are much more skilled than I am because it's a hard ass game.
So I've heard.
Yeah, it's actually a surprisingly difficult game to be good at, but like there are half circles in that game, and if somebody who plays 2K and grasps 2K, a game for sports fans who I'm not dissing sports fans, but also like they're not the most gamery gamers.
I guess that is one way to put it.
If they can grasp how to do a quarter circle at like a very specific interval, anybody can.
Yeah, I think
anybody can.
I think games that are balanced around one button inputs are fine, and games that are balanced around more complex inputs are also fine.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting how some people just do not feel the need, like the fact that they'll look at the move list, they'll see a quarter circle, they'll see a half circle, they'll see like a charge motion.
They're intimidating.
Yeah, they look intimidating. Move lists can look intimidating, just in general, especially if you're like a new time, your first fighting game, you boot it up, you look at the move list, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like my first fighting game that I paid attention to the move list for was Mortal Kombat 9.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'll tell you right now, Mortal Kombat 9 is a very intimidating move list. If you look at how to do a bicycle kick with Liu Kang, you have no idea what you're doing.
It wasn't like back forward or forward back or something.
It was like a back forward back.
Like, I mean, it's not the worst input in the world, but it's like we're talking like pretzel motions like we did earlier.
Yeah,
that's like back diagonal, blah 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 blah.
Even a tiger knee motion is intimidating.
Yeah.
The Shoryuken, people are like, I don't know how to do this. It's like,
you just go on that forward down forward.
Yeah.
But then it relates to like how much time they're willing to put in the game.
Exactly.
Like, are they willing to step into practice mode and learn how to do a quarter circle once, even if they just go into training mode until they get it? Right?
Exactly.
Doesn't even have to be consistently, like until they get it. It's very much player investment. I think player investment is a really good topic just to talk about. Like, what gets a player invested into a fighting game? Because there's a lot of games that will try and sell you on a very surface level, like with things that we've talked about before: characters, aesthetic,
stages,
music,
franchises.
There are a lot of things, but then once the person is, okay, I'm sold, I've bought the game, or I've downloaded the game's demo or trial period.
What keeps them playing?
What keeps them playing? We've talked about it a little bit before. Depth over simplicity. That was like on one of our earlier podcasts way back when.
Yeah, if you're willing to commit the time to a game, a deeper game is probably, I'm not saying it's going to be better, but it might be a more fulfilling experience, right? So something with like a Guilty Gear, or like even a Team Fighter, right? So like or a Tekken. Those sorts of games where there's depth in the gameplay system, in the way the game plays, that's going to keep people playing. Now, why Dragon Ball specifically? Because it seems like kind of a simple game. The characters don't do a lot. It's because it's not that there's so many characters, but because you have to learn 3 of them.
Right. It's a team. It's a team game. It's
a team game, and also like the different team combinations and what works well where. That's what you're going to get. Or I mean, you can say the same about the variation system in Mortal Kombat. There's a lot of depth in that, but there's also a lot of depth in like Guilty Gear because the universal mechanics are so deep.
Right. There's definitely a lot that kind of goes on with figuring out like what's the deep part of the game, like the discovery portion of it. Like, so this is what my character can do. This is what they can.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not what the character can do, but it's how the character interacts with the engine, right? So like in a Tekken, right? In a Tekken,
the movement
and the universal mechanics and the understanding of hitboxes is what's deep.
Right.
Compared to something like
then you got to think about like some
of
the
conversations where the depth is in the moves.
Right. Some of this conversation, I mean, like, we got to understand the new player mentality. Like some of the concepts that we just talked about, hitboxes, sidestepping, movement. These are all concepts that are completely lost on somebody who is just into a fighting game.
If somebody's playing Smash and they really like Terry Bogard, and they go to find the game Terry came from, and they look at a King of Fighters game,
they're likely to be intimidated by some of the inputs, like 100%. They'll be like, I did Power Geyser once.
Even just to play as Terry, it's like, I've seen Buster Wolf performed, but I've never done it because Buster Wolf is a very intimidating move to attempt to perform.
It's a double quarter circle to a new player is like, oh man, I got to do this twice this fast.
Exactly.
It's not when you're somebody who's done it a lot of times, like myself or you, then that's like that experience. It becomes muscle memory. It's much easier. But like then you look at somebody who's just getting into a fighting game, somebody who's just getting into Guilty Gear, for example. They look at Soul doing Volcanic Viper. They're like, that's the coolest move I've ever seen. Like he shouts Volcanic Viper and there's a pillar of flame that comes out. I want to do that move. Then they go into practice mode and they dedicate the time to themselves to input Volcanic Viper. But they have Volcanic Viper. They learn that it's a Shoryuken motion, like down, diagonal, forward. They're like, that's very hard, but I want to do that. That's the only move I want to know how to do. And so they do.
And then suddenly that opens them up to like
the possibilities.
Half of a fighting game's move list.
Or maybe that's just all they want. They just want to go online and Volcanic Viper people. Understandable.
Yeah.
Like that's the investment portion of the fighting game. But then what happens when that investment turns into self-improvement?
So that's really when you start getting dedicated to something, right? So like there
are proper steps to these things.
Exactly.
So there's so many plateaus that you have to go through.
Yeah. So there's like the game that you're interested in because you like the characters, right? So like I am a fan of DC Comics, so I'm gonna play Injustice 2. Right. I like, and I'm just gonna throw out an example here. I like Atrocitus, right? Atrocitus is my favorite villain in DC.
Red Lantern fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Red Lanterns in DC, so I'm gonna play as Atrocitus, and so I'm gonna learn how to play Atrocitus. And then I'm going to learn Atrocitus is kind of hard, right?
Right. You're gonna say something like, okay, I'm a new fighting game player. I've never done a motion input in my whole life.
How am I supposed to do strings?
Right. Like
how am I supposed to understand canceling?
Yeah, it's like, how do I input just like pressing the 4-button string that he has?
Yeah.
1 1 2 4, I believe.
Maybe
Is the string. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but like, what's the timing on that?
Yeah.
How do I perform it? I think that looks cool.
Yeah. And it's when they get past the, oh, this move looks cool, oh, I like this character, that they get dedicated to learning.
Yeah,
right?
right after the investment, and I think this game is cool, and I want to learn it more.
Exactly. It's when they fall in love with the game over its aesthetic, over its characters.
Right.
So, like, for example, I am not sold on Grand Blue, so I haven't played Grand Blue. I have no reason to play it. Like, I enjoy the gameplay of Lancelot, but I don't have any reason to go any further.
But if there was like a character that was like super big to you,
exactly,
like one that you like found super aesthetically pleasing, or just like their personality or their attitude.
If I liked, and here's the thing with me, a lot has to line up. I can really like a character.
You just like Narmaya, right?
I don't know that reference. But like, so
those of you who've played Grand Blue, you know my
okay.
reference.
So like in Mortal Kombat 11, I really like Johnny Cage. I think Johnny Cage is one of the like funniest characters in video games. I think he's great. I can't play Johnny Cage to save my life. So I'm like, the character's kind of lost on me, right? If Johnny Cage was the only character I liked in Mortal Kombat 11, and I just was not sold on his gameplay style, you can bet I'm probably dropping Mortal Kombat 11.
Right.
But because I like Spawn, and I like Kano, and I like Fujin, whose gameplay is lost on me, because I like those characters, then I'm stuck with the game, and I like how Mortal Kombat 11 plays.
It gets into that mindset of like, you invest what you choose to invest in, and that's where the learning process starts.
Exactly. So like, Matt, you really like Killer Instinct, not just because of the music, not just because of the aesthetic, not just because of the history of the franchise, but because Fulgore is really cool.
Oh yeah.
Fulgore has good moves.
Oh yeah.
And just, it's a fun game to play.
It is. It's one of those things where all the stars kind of align into, you want to learn this character, you want to invest in the time. Exactly. I think a great example of this with me personally is Zato 1 from Guilty Gear XR2. He is a character that is extremely complicated to play in a lot of times. He's essentially controlling 2 characters at once. But I love his aesthetic, voice, and attitude, and that kind of does it for me. We've talked about it. Character self-fighting games, we've already talked about that. But what sells you to learn? What starts the learn? What starts that like sponge-like process of you exuding learning information? And it's that same kind of simple factors.
It's when you start having fun with a game.
Right.
It's
so when you want to take the dive. Like, what makes you want to take the dive?
Yeah. So like for example, I personally, I can respect how good of a game Skullgirls is, but when I play Skullgirls, I don't have fun. Like, there's nothing about it that screams like, yes, this is a game that I'm going to have fun playing over and over and over.
There are different things that click for everybody, yeah.
That's just me. Like, I have fun playing Street Fighter V. I enjoy playing as Alex and as Ed and as Ken.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own preferences.
Everybody's going to find fun in different places.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you just have to find your fun in a fighting game.
Right.
So if your fun is spamming a low rifle shot from the other side of the screen and cackling in Will Smith, then go ahead, play Injustice 2 Blade that shot.
True.
And, like, be 3 years behind the curve.
Be the gunman.
Yeah, be 3 years behind the curve.
Be the gunman. Yeah. Be who you want to be. But okay,
Yeah.
let's take it back a little bit. So say that you have a friend of yours. This could be anybody listening or us in general.
Yeah, it could be your friend, it could be your roommate, it could be a brother, sister,
You
whoever.
want to get them into fighting games. They have expressed interest in wanting to learn at some point. Be like, hey, I've always wanted to learn Street Fighter, or I've always wanted to play Mortal Kombat a little bit more, or Dragon Ball, or something of that nature. How do you go about getting to them to that like self-investment portion?
Well, the first thing is you have to figure out what game they really want to play, right? So
you got to figure out what clicks for them.
Exactly. What game is going to click for them, right? So not everybody is going to want to play a 2D fighter.
Right.
But also not everybody's going to want to play Tekken.
Yeah, some people might be like, I want to play a 3D fighter, but I love the freedom of movement of Soul Calibur more. Or I love the weapons, the character design, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have to figure out, do they really want to play Soul Calibur? Or do they want to just play Tekken and play as Noctis, you know?
Right, yeah. Like, those are the little clicks that you got to find.
Exactly. And they
mass exposure is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. The more games they play, the more they're going to figure out what game they want to play.
And then, even if they're not liking the one game, they can learn concepts from that game that apply to the other one.
Exactly.
Like just maybe even if it's like the simplicity of a quarter circle input.
Right? So, like, if you know somebody that really, really wants to play Gauru Mark of the Wolves, but they hate the gameplay of Gauru Mark of the Wolves.
I can't see why you would.
Exactly, but maybe it's just not for them.
Maybe it's
right?
not for them.
Maybe they don't like the characters. Maybe they really like King of Fighters, and they really like Rock Howard, and they really like Terry Bogard, but they really don't like
let's
the
just
aesthetic of King of Fighters 14.
What if Billy the Smash player loves Terry, like we said earlier, or loves Ryu and wants to see the game they came from? Like, how do you get them into that mode where you they want to learn Street Fighter or KOF or something of that nature? What you do is you point out the cool stuff. You point out like some of the nice.
You point out what you like about a game,
or you like
even if you don't like a game, there's gonna be something you do like about it.
You saturate. You got to saturate them to what the game has to offer. This is what the fun part is. Like if I'm teaching people, like showing people KOF for the first time, I'm going to show them like max mode cancels and supers.
Yeah. Well, and more importantly, I'm going to show them Billy Kane because it's a beautiful man. It's a beautiful man with a beautiful stick.
Hey man, all I got to show them is Geese Howard, man. Geese Howard die forever. Yeah. Instantly invested.
Oh yeah. Or well, even better. Say they're switching from one fighting game to another. Say they're switching from Tekken 7, and they really like Geese Howard and Tekken.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to play King of Fighters. Well, then they have to get used to a whole new movement system, and they have to get used to a whole new engine and a whole new way of thinking. How do you get them invested in King of Fighters if all they like about it is Geese Howard?
Well, that's one thing. You can tell them, as a person who's played both, you can tell them that, okay, he has the same kind of button commands as that one, and he has some of the same command inputs that he has in Tekken.
So you got to find what relates to them personally.
Right. You got to find what relates to them, because then that kind of spark, when they start the spark on their own, then they start to learn on their own. And then you guide them. You have to stick with them even when they get the spark of their own, because they're going to get their ass beat.
You have to be there, and you have to be patient. Right?
You have to be extremely patient.
There has to be patience all around, right? So like, say I'm at a comic book store and it's not 2020. Say it's like 2023 and the world is like safe again.
If there is one takeaway from this podcast, be patient with new players.
Be patient with new players.
Don't tell them, don't gatekeep them just because they can't do a Hadouken right away.
Yeah, be patient. Honestly, be patient. That's probably like a good moral anyway.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, say I'm hanging out at a place with some friends, right? And a buddy of mine is like, hey man, like, I love the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics, and I see you playing those fighting games all the time.
Right.
Is anything for the Ninja Turtles? I'm like, my guy, listen, we got that Injustice.
There he goes again. It's Injustice, dude. It doesn't do this. Injustice do that.
Okay,
no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, that's the kind of vibe I'm in for this podcast.
I get you.
Recently unpacked it, and I'm gonna start playing it again soon. But it's like, hey man, you got the Ninja Turtles in this game. It's like, wow, that's really cool. Why do I keep losing online? I paid money for these characters. It's
right.
Like, well, let me tell you, my friend, you gotta be motivated, right? Because it's not just like being motivated, right? Because I can be motivated to do anything. I can be motivated to go like walk down the street. You know, it's like, oh, I've walked down the street. Great motivation.
Usually, the best answer to somebody who says, "Why am I keep losing online?" It's, "Have you been in training mode yet?"
Yeah, honestly.
And then if they say yes, you're like, "Have you really been in training mode yet?
Have you
done a full moveless breakdown?"
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not just like breaking down a moveless, right? Because not everybody's gonna know how a training mode works.
Right.
And that's like the big thing is like you've got all these tutorials online for fighting games. It's like, oh, how to do this flashy combo with
you don't want to start off with like
how to do your M Bison combos and your Kim Kapwan combos.
Right.
Like those are nice, but like I have not seen a single tutorial video on how to work a training mode in a fighting game.
Usually they just give it to you and they're like, go wild.
It's like, this is training mode.
Some are good, some are kind of trash.
Right? So like I didn't figure out how to do like move recordings until like this summer.
Yeah.
I didn't figure out that you could use that to learn punishes. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you want to do that? It's so that you can learn block timing and punishing and parries, and
that's another one of those beginner mentality that you don't know, that they don't know.
Exactly. It's so much in a fighting game is not told to you, right? Like it's like, you have to discover the combos on your own.
I'll test you real quick. How do you quick rides in Street Fighter 5?
Double tap up.
Double tap. Might be double tap up. I know light punch, medium punch together is quick rise.
Oh, okay. Well, you see, I don't know
Yeah.
anything.
See,
I don't,
there's stuff that I don't. We're not claiming to be experts and know-it-alls.
Well, here's
there's
the
so
part, though,
much
is, like,
there.
So, like in Street Fighter V, I think this is a really good example. In Street Fighter V, next to a move that can be EX'd, it says EX. It does not tell you
How to EX.
how to EX. So it doesn't tell you anything about what the super meter does. It doesn't tell you how to read the HUD. And God knows Guilty Gear needs to teach people how to read their HUDs.
That's fair. First, they need to redesign their HUD.
Well, there's so many meters in Guilty Gear. It's like, wait a minute. You're telling me there is a meter for everything.
Yep. Burst, tension, etc.
And here, you know what would be great is if like there was like universal words for everything, but instead it's like, no. You have your health gauge, sometimes called HP, sometimes called a life bar. And that's like you could figure that out.
I think fighting games could do a much better job.
Sometimes it's called meters, sometimes it's called charge, sometimes it's called rage, sometimes it's called burst. It's like, wow, maybe it's not the inputs that need to be beginner friendly. Maybe it's the language of fighting games.
Yeah, I think Tekken is an egregious example of this. They don't really give you anything.
No.
They kind of just throw you into the
They
nest.
didn't give you frame data.
No, you got to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to pay for punishment training too a little bit. Or no, that was a free update, but like still, it was an update. It had to be added in.
Exactly. A lot of these games, gameplay wise, they're complete, but as far as accessibility, they are incredibly.
Accessibility of fighting games is very bad right now,
Yeah.
and I think it's one thing that takes a big hit on the genre because you look at some of these other games and there's a lot of good tutorial content, or they're more simple in the game in general.
I mean, yeah, because here's the thing: you have all these developers simplifying the gameplay to draw in new players. And at the same time...
Yeah, they're going to get their ass kicked the same way.
Exactly. Whereas the old players who are complaining about that change, I doubt they would complain if there were a tutorial,
right?
Or a training mode
like
tutorial.
How to look at the tutorial. I'm sick and tired of tutorials just being combo trials. It's like heavy punch into light
or
punch
like not
or something
even
like
combo
that.
trials, just like, hey, let's perform a special move.
Yeah.
And then giving you an example of when it can be used.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but at the same time, if a developer says, hey, we want this character to be a grappler, and it turns out they just have a strong projectile, suddenly you've got a zoner that can also grapple, that can also do combos, and you're not playing a fighting game. You're playing as Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 11.
I agree. I think Street Fighter V is a great example of the trial modes present to you combos that are somewhat practical, or at the very least universal.
Yeah.
But in comparison to Street Fighter 4, which had a lot of FADC and impractical one-frame link combos that were never going to really be done in a match.
Yeah. Well, then, like, even Street Fighter 5, they have a tutorial mode where they show you how to do the basic stuff and, like, what's changed. And, like, this is what Alex's V-skill does. Thank you, by the way, Capcom, for including that and not including that in the move list description. Like, hey, maybe, like, tell us what the hell moves do. Because I don't speak Japanese. I don't know what Hadouken means. I don't know what that means, Capcom.
Hey, man, I just know that Shoryuken means Dragon Fist.
You see how that makes sense?
Yeah.
But I don't speak Japanese, so I wouldn't know that.
Rising Dragon Fist.
Yeah, here's the thing. If I wasn't culturally aware, and I didn't know what a Shoryuken was, and I saw that in the move list, I'm like, huh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. That's dumb, right?
Yeah,
but if I see a move that is called Rising Phoenix Flare Kick or whatever.
Hey, man, Shoryuken is, like, so culturally ingrained by this point.
Okay, so a better example would be SNK games, right? I don't speak Korean. I don't speak Japanese. I don't know what the hell Kim's moves do. I only recently learned that one of his super moves is called Phoenix Kick from a phone game.
You think so? Like, yeah, accessibility to all.
Yeah, tell people what shit does.
Yeah, I think telling people what the context clues that other languages present is also good.
Yeah, like,
I think,
how the fuck am I supposed? Sorry. How the hell am I supposed to know that one of Kim's super moves literally is just a big kick that continues combos?
Now, one of you guys listening might not be like thinking it's like, oh, what is that? What does doing that do? Like, what? It doesn't really mean anything. It just still gives it a cool move name. Well, the fact that the word kick is in it means that it's probably performed with the kick button of some sort.
Yeah. Well, even then, hey, maybe tell me what your moves do. Like it's like my big thing.
I think it would
tell
be
me what a
great.
move does, I know when to use it.
I think iteration of fighting games would be great if there was a training mode tutorial. Like, do you know that Soul Calibur and Tekken do one thing right? You can see examples of what your moves do when you input them. Like, it goes to like a diorama display.
Yeah.
And it shows you what happens. Like, this is what the move looks like, and this is what it does.
Yeah.
I wish games would go further beyond and let you see what it does, like on counter hit on an example.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I would like maybe I just pick up Steve Fox for the first time in Tekken.
Right.
How am I supposed to know that his kick buttons are actually side steps and dodges?
You could go to the move list and look at that diorama that I just said.
Exactly.
But how do you know that he has like multiple stances?
Exactly.
And what situations they're used for? If they had like little asterisks next to them and said,
Dev
the one dodge, they show the example, and it has like a little text blurb above it that says, "Good can dodge high attacks,"
Exactly.
or something like that. That's not usually said.
No, I think dev tips would be like one of the most useful things in fighting games.
Right.
Is if like dev tips next to moves, dev tips next to characters, right? Because you have so many people that are like, "Hey, I love how this character looks. Teach me how to play this character."
Yeah.
But I don't want to play. It's like, oh, this is how they're supposed to be played. I don't want to play them how they're supposed to be played. I want to play them the way I want to play them.
Right. Killer Instinct's Dojo mode is a great example of this done right because it tells you all the different aspects of Killer Instinct's systems.
Yeah.
Like counter breaker, shadow counter, combo breakers, what certain moves are used to do what.
Yeah. Well, and again,
the understanding of the new player mindset
exactly
is extremely important because as experienced fighting game players, we're all teachers.
Exactly.
People will always come up to us and sit next to us during a set, and they've never played a fighting game in their life, and they will ask us, is that punishable? Is that safe? What does that do? I've never seen that before, etc.
Wow, that character's really cool. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just did that combo. Wow, I can't believe you just pulled that out. Wow, that's a really cool super move.
If we want our genre to grow and be as popular as some of the others and not be a poverty genre,
yeah, seriously.
Then,
if we want our games to have budgets,
then we got to be willing to accept
new players.
New players. That doesn't mean simplifying things, going back to the motion input discussion.
No, that just means
being available.
That means we as players need to be available.
And we need to let developers know, hey, this is what would help new players. And that would be like explanations of what things do.
Right. Being
even
the
like
stuff that takes us years of self-discovery to find, presenting it up front.
Exactly. Like maybe put next to certain characters like suggested play styles. Even if it's just like, this is Zangief. Zangief should be used as a grappler.
The YouTube channel Blasted Salami does a great job of this with Tekken characters, Grand Blue characters. I've seen imitation videos on different channels, news names I can't think of, with like Pokken. Ones that break down characters, tell you this character's strengths is that they're good up close and they have fast buttons, but their weaknesses is that they get whiff punished a lot or something of that sort. And their difficulty is probably around the intermediate side.
Exactly.
So they have some complex moves or stances.
That's what fighting games need. It needs to be more...
You can never have too much tutorial content.
It needs to be more transparent.
Transparency.
Like I don't need to see the source code for Power Rangers Battle. I don't need to see that.
Right.
But what would be nice is if you told me how to... Is if like the game said, hey, this is a playstyle that works best for Red Ranger.
And this is beyond just showing the frame data when they have like a frame data display.
Yeah. This is like, hey, this is the developer actively going and saying, this is what this character is good at.
Mm-hmm. Like, I know what -3 means. New players aren't gonna.
Yeah, new players don't even know how to count frames. Now,
Right.
admittedly, I don't know how to count
They
frames.
don't know how to count in general.
New players don't know what frames mean. New players aren't going to know that a fighting game runs at 60 frames per second
But they would
natively.
appreciate knowing that Wakeup Shoryuken is punishable.
Exactly. Like, maybe instead of calling it frames, calling it like 60ths of a second.
I mean,
At least
I wouldn't go super far on that, but I would definitely go like the transparency and being clear.
Yeah, it's like a Shoryuken does this.
You are left wide open after this.
Oh, yeah.
Or like, this specific string is good for this, but weak against this.
Exactly. This string advances, and then just like put in parentheses, moves you forward. Have you ever seen the word advance before in your life?
It could be as simple and obvious as Zangief whiffs an SBD. He's wide open.
Yeah.
Everyone can see it, and everybody knows it.
My grandma could punish that. And I'm not just saying
Fast reflexes. Is your grandma a rushdown player?
No.
How interesting.
She plays very defensively.
But yeah. Anyway, I think that's all the time that we got today, actually.
Yeah, I think that's it. But make sure that you follow us on Twitter. That's going to be below.
Join our Discord.
Join our Discord. We're always we're happy to have new people. We're happy to teach, and we got a great community of people. So
Yeah, learn with us. Get that drive. Find what clicks for you.
Exactly. Find your fighting game motivation. This has been Wake Up Options, and once again, just to put it out there, we are not in any way trying to represent the opinions of our organization or our university. What we're saying is just our opinions and how we feel about these topics. And so if you would like to talk about how great NetherRealm Studios is at communicating
whoa.
when the skin packs are coming out in the middle of coronavirus.
We don't want to flame in the comments.
Oh,
man.
yeah, no, I'm not, just like
Hey, man, just follow us. Have fun with us.
follow us on social media. We've got a great new social media guy.
We're happy to have you.
We're happy to have you. So, and keep an eye out because we might have merchandise coming soon.
Stay healthy, guys. Have a good one.
Yep, don't cough on each other.